It's the Trash Player League. Let's get it.
Hey, hello and good evening. Welcome to FLCN. We are presenting the Trash Player League Week 12. I believe that is the week that we are on now. Week 11 is in the books. So, you know what that means. It's time to get into the post-game wrap-up analysis and also get into the pregame for Week 12. But before we do that, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, Rickey Scott. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Took another L, but this is starting to become par for the course. So now I'm kind of numb to it at this point. So my day hasn't changed at all with these losses.
I wish I could say the same as far as being able to just roll with the punches, but I also took my, fourth L in a row. And this time it just happened to be me losing by 4 points. So I'm kind of bitter about that. I would have rather just got blown out by like 40 points versus just 4 measly points. Oh, but we'll get into that much later.
Yeah, you know, hey, man, 3 4s. If only you had another 4, then you would have been 4-4-4-4. Fourth L in a row, lost by 4 points, and you lost to 4 in them. So now...
Oh. That's karma for me laughing at 4 and them losing by 4 points, and now he wins by 4 points.
Yeah,
crazy how that shit happens.
It usually happens that way. But look, I'm glad that you put that out there about the karma thing for talking and shit. Look, man, like I see a lot of guys that are watching this and that are in this league. They take what happens on this podcast to heart. Like they take the trash talking and all that, or just the commentary to heart. And to you fellas, first of all, I say to you guys, suck my dick. And then secondly,
whoa.
and then secondly, I say to you guys, it's only entertainment. Like you guys gotta let it go. Like if I don't talk like this in the chat. Like I talk like this for this. This is for the entertainment portion. You gotta let it live, man. I mean, even though my comments, or critiques on your team may be truthful, but the trash talking is for the entertainment, man. You gotta let it breathe, Doug. Don't be so thin-skinned. And if you have something to say, come on here. I gave you all the invitation. Like, come on here and talk your shit. Don't be butthurt in the chat.
I'm not part of the SMD crew, but I understand. I won't be surprised if some of the players change their avatar pictures to Fat Joe. You heard what Fat Joe said about that. You can't tell them the SMD without getting stabbed. So we're gonna see how that plays out.
But yeah, you know what I mean? I only say it jokingly. But anyway, man, let's get into the stuff that happened this week, because a few things happened this week before we get into the 3 and out. This week was the very last week for trades in this league. The trade deadline was this weekend. So as the trade deadline approached, there was a lot of rumor mills going on about player movement within the league, but only one team was actually making the moves, moving and shaking, making it happen out here at the end of the season. So we're going to get into those final transactions before the trade deadline, and then we'll get into the 3 and out. So with that, let's just go ahead and look into it now. All right, so here we go. Here are the final transactions for trades for the season. Your player got hurt was involved in 2 major trades at the end of the season to help improve his team, to help break his losing streak that he has had and help propel him into the playoff picture. So let's look at it here. His first move here was with We Not from 750. He made a trade that sent Amari Cooper and Emmanuel Sanders to We Not from 750, and he received Joe Mixon. This was an excellent trade on your player got Hurts part, getting Joe Mixon, and We Not from 750 was stuck in between a rock and a hard place, seeing how he had practically no receivers at all at this point. Inside information on my end, I also was in the hunt for Joe Mixon, largely because I didn't even want Joe Mixon. I just wanted to use Joe Mixon to get Najee Harris. So I was trying to throw out Hunter Renfrow and another player, but at the same time, I guess a better offer came through, and he took Amari Cooper and Emmanuel Sanders, or at least what seemed like a better offer, because Amari Cooper, just right after he got traded to We Not from 750, he did not pass the physical, and he came down with COVID.
I'm not gonna lie, when that shit happened, I laughed so hard. Like, I'm laughing now. It was like, I didn't mean for that to happen. I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody, but it was just hysterical because it was just like I dodged a huge bullet.
Yeah, it was seem so. Like, I'm not gonna knock the trade, but I would knock the trade at all. Like, I get it. Amari Cooper, Emmanuel Sanders, the names sound great. So, and you giving up Joe Mixon, it is what it is. But your player got hurt. It was not done for the day. He said, nope, I still got moves to make and I got trees to shake. So he moved on, and later in the day traded with FTW and sent Mark Ingram and Jerry Jeudy over to FTW and received AJ Brown in return. In this trade, it worked out for both teams because he would receive I guess to best put it would be AJ Brown is a volatile player. He is a bit of a roller coaster ride, up and downs. And you have, on the flip side, FTW needed the security blanket of Mark Ingram because of Alvin Kamara's current health state, where he pretty much didn't know whether he was going to go or not, and he ended up not playing. So that trade ended up working well for him to get that handcuff and secure that handcuff. And you get Jerry Jeudy for the next week when he comes back from bye. So, as you know, one of your player got hurt is one of the hosts here. So go ahead and talk to us about these trades, sir.
Well, pretty much I was in dire need of a running back. So far during this entire process, I was trying to see who was in need of wide receivers. As everybody knows, from the beginning of this season up to now, I've probably had the most wide receivers. I won't say the most consistent, but just some of the bigger names for them and some of the safest floors for them. So I went looking for all the teams that had pretty bad wide receivers or just had none at all, and tried to make trades with them, which I was able to walk away with Joe Mixon, which I thought was a great trade. And then as far as the Mark Ingram and Jerry Jeudy, I got tired of having all these safe floored wide receivers, and I figured I needed somebody that was a boom and bust. My original target was not T.Y. Hilton. What's his name? Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs. I figured he would be my best bet to try to get a boom or bust. I sent a couple of trades toward that governor's way with multiple different people, and I don't know if he was just busy, he didn't bite, he didn't care, whatever it was. I couldn't get a line of communication open, so I settled for the next best thing. I looked around and my brain saw there was Mark Ingram sitting there. This governor had Alvin Kamara, and he was going to need a backup wide receiver. So I figured Jerry Jeudy and Mark Ingram was the perfect shot at me trying to get a boom or bust type wide receiver, which I got. I figured some weeks he'll get me big, some weeks he won't. And I was hoping this would have been one of those weeks, but yeah, that didn't pan out to that way.
Yeah, no, it did not. Like I said, I was trying to get a hold of Najee Harris. Najee Harris being my ultimate goal. That's why I wanted Joe Mixon. And I figured that if you did not take the trade for Najee Harris, then me being stuck with Joe Mixon wouldn't be a terrible thing. So I was cool. So I that was my view into it of the last day trades that I tried to make but failed to make. So Joe Mixon was a bit of a hot commodity in the last day of the trade deadline. So that ends the trades that happened at the end of the trade deadline. Now let's go ahead and get into the 3 and out and look at the wins and losses from week 11. All right. We have a team name change this week. We have a team name change. I Choose Violence changed their team name to Fuck the Fantasy Football Gods. Because that's just how they feeling now. And that's what it that's what it is. It's like, dog, losing 6 straight does not sit well with their spirit. So that's where it is with that team. They played boom or bust and took a L. Your player got hurt, took a loss to Indianimals. Raw Dog Supreme loses to Corey's championship team. Lucky Lombardi continues his luck streak and defeats Big Trust. We Not From 750 defeats I Love Cam Newton, and Reese's Buttercup team takes a L to FTW. Okay, so now that that's out the way, let's go ahead and get into the 3 and out and look into this Reese's Buttercup team versus FTW. Reese's Buttercup team puts up a point total of 108.20 to 134.58 from FTW. FTW improves his wins to now being 7 and his losses being 4. He is currently in second place in the league. And as we can see here, as we look into it, as always with Reese's Buttercup team, it always comes down to the performance of Patrick Mahomes as the first point here. Patrick Mahomes gives her a measly 6 points, and that pretty much sets the tone for how this team is going to do at all times in the season. And especially seeing how that Patrick Mahomes was her first pick overall, that left her weak in other positions. And so if Patrick Mahomes doesn't perform, your team is going to falter. And that's just how that went. So Patrick Mahomes gives her 6 points. Jalen Hurts on the flip side, though, gives FTW 29. Jalen Hurts has been quite the fantasy commodity. Let's just look at it here. 29, 21, 18, 11, and 26, quite a few 30-point games here. Like, Jalen Hurts has been probably one of the most solid and consistent quarterbacks in the league this season, as far as fantasy purposes go. So excellent pickup by the auto draft here, and he has been doing numbers for FTW so far this season. But going forward, what we see here is Reese's Buttercup team, her wide receivers showed up to play. Adam Thielen scores 22. Terry McLaurin stirs 21 to the opposite of Michael Pittman scoring 4 and Brandon Cooks only getting 3 despite Houston winning the game. And somehow that wasn't able to help Reese's Buttercup team because of my final point here. Her running backs did not show up. Damian Harris does not show up today. He scores 7.50 to DeAndre Swift's 22.60. DeAndre Swift scores 136 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He showed up to play, and so did Mark Ingram. Like we said, Mark Ingram was in for Alvin Kamara this week, and Mark Ingram did not disappoint. This was mostly in garbage time, but either way, it still counts for fantasy purposes. 88 rushing yards, 6 receptions, and 25 receiving yards. On the flip side, you have Singletary, who practically did nothing. He only gives Reese 7 points here. And finally, I'm going to take a 4th down just to point out the fact that Zach Ertz gets 28 points. He shows up big for Reese's Buttercup team, but because of the lack of production from her quarterback and from her running backs, it was all for naught. It all boiled down to practically nothing, despite the high performances from her receiving core. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rickey?
I have some thoughts about her team overall, but we can get into that for next week's prediction. As far as this goes, Pat Mahomes not showing up is the main reason this got really, really bad. He seems like if he doesn't have the normal Patrick Mahomes types weeks that we got accustomed to, it's going to be a rough week for her. So you hit the nail right on the head with that one.
Yeah. So let's look at the bench and see if anything could have changed their fates. All right. Absolutely nothing. Nothing would have changed the fate for either one of these teams. FTW starts all the right people in this one. And Reese Buttercup team, she just practically did the best she could. But nope, these guys didn't show up. All right, so moving on. It's We Not From 750 versus I Love Cam Newton. Sir, you have the floor.
Go ahead. So we got We're Not From 750 with a score of 110.20 versus I Love Cam Newton with a score of 71.64. I guess from our first down, I want to go to look at the quarterback play from both players. As you can see on I Love Cam Newton's side, Dak Prescott shit the bed. He had 216 passing yards, 2 interceptions, and was sacked for 5 times, leaving him with 0.14 points. That is exactly what you do not want to ever see from your quarterback. At the very least, you want your quarterback to walk away with 15 points. 0.14, that is not acceptable, and that's the main reason he lost this. Now, traveling over to the other side, we have We're Not From 750 with Aaron Rodgers showing up big. He scored 40.50 fantasy points. I think he might be the #1 quarterback for the week, if I'm not mistaken. He had 4 passing touchdowns, 385 passing yards, and 21 rushing yards to add to injury. Man, 21 rushing yards from Aaron Rodgers is a godsend right now. Going on to our second down point, I want to take a look at the wide receivers for both of them. As we talked about during the trade, We're Not From 750 was in dire need of some wide receivers. And as you can see, Allen Robinson showed up with a whopping nothing. And Emmanuel Sanders showed up with, 5.6, which is like decent, but it's not very much. You never won 3 receptions and 26 yards from your wide receiver. You at least wanted to get somewhere about like 80 yards and like 4 to 5 receptions. Moving over to I Love Cam Newton's side, and once again, he goes with Jacoby Myers, who just hasn't really been doing much unless he's playing against me. And this week, he's got 4 receptions and 39 yards for 7.9 points. And then going down, I don't understand why he would pick up Kenny Golladay. Like, I don't know if there was better options at the time when he hit the waiver wire, but this man has done nothing but stolen money from the New York Giants this season. I think he's making, $40 million guaranteed, and he's showing up with 1 reception for 12 yards. Like, I don't think he's had but 1 good game, and that was against New Orleans, shockingly. So I don't know. You might want to get rid of him and hit the waiver wires for something different, because he's not going to do it. Going down to my final point, the biggest difference that they had again was probably the kickers in this one. Buffalo showed up with nothing. It looks like his kicker, I don't know the dude's first name, Base. He only was able to make 1 extra point, and Rodney Sucker was able to come up with 13 for him. So that looks pretty bad. I don't think there's much else to break down for this. If you go to the bench, both of their benches are pretty depleted. So I don't think there was very much either of them could have done to help teams out at all. Yeah, as you can see, Amari Cooper was out with COVID. No Noah Fant because he's on a bye. You have Tony Pollard. I guess the 9 points would have like just added insult to injury. You got Baker Mayfield. I'm definitely glad he didn't play Baker Mayfield over A-Rod this weekend. I love Cam Newton had a whole bunch of nothing. I guess Derek Carr would have been the better choice, but it wouldn't have been enough to make a significant difference. So tough loss, man. Tough loss.
Yeah.
You got anything to add to this?
Yeah, just the fact that Cooper Kupp being on bye is a major factor for I love Cam Newton. He has been the linchpin for this team so far this season. So this team comes and goes with Cooper Kupp. If without him, you definitely wasn't going to win. I mean, you barely been able to win with him so far this season. So without him, it was a fat chance of you taking that W. So moving on, we are now getting into Lucky Lombardi versus Big Trust. Lucky Lombardi puts up 167.88 to 134.58. Lucky Lombardi gets the highest score for the week, and he improves his record to 9-2, which officially locks him up for the playoffs this season. Big Trust takes an L this week, dropping him to 5th place. He is now 6-5, and he is vulnerable to possibly not even making the playoffs. We will see how that works out. But now let's get into it. First point being, as always, it starts with the quarterbacks. Justin Herbert shows up this week in a big way, scoring 39.28. He gets 382 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, and he had 90 rushing yards. This is out of the blue game to have 90 rushing yards, but Justin Herbert, he did it. He did it well. Pittsburgh, you would not expect this from him, especially against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when Pittsburgh Steelers doesn't have TJ Watt, their defense is a totally different team, and they are vulnerable. And there was no TJ Watt, and so the Chargers kind of had their way offensively. On the flip side, Tom Brady does admirably. He does have an interception, but 307 passing yards and 2 touchdowns does help save his day to have a fairly good game where he has 23 points here. My second point being is that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin has yet to fail Big Trust. This was the linchpin for his team, or whether or not they were going to be his team was going to be any good. Is somehow this team that's on the same team, somehow they have been performing. The injuries just have been breaking their way to where both of these players are performing at the same time because they're both needed. And Tom Brady is just giving a rock to both of them. But it wasn't enough to take the W, because my third and final point goes to the New England defense. This probably is the most important down here, because this 30 points here happened on Thursday. This was pretty much the nail in the coffin right away. The week started and you already knew that Big Trust was taking this L. New England's defense shuts out Atlanta to the tune. They get 0 points. They give up nothing to them, and they have 4 interceptions and 1 touchdown. And what's amazing about that is that in garbage time, when there's 1 minute and 40 seconds left, somehow Atlanta is still passing the ball. They're still passing the ball instead of just trying to get home and get out of there. They're still passing the ball. And in that, they give up yet another ball to New England. New England gets 30 points on the day. And what amazes me most about that is the fact that this Atlanta team, just the week before, shut everything down in the third quarter. And this week, they decided to take it to the wire when they were down. when they had 0 points at all. Like, I don't know what their identity was. It just seemed like they were lining themselves up to give Lucky Lombardicus all the points that he needed to destroy Big Trust this week. How do you feel about that, Rickey?
I mean, he got the points in the perfect places. Your quarterback showing up, one of your running backs showing up, and then finally the defense counting for pretty much what you would expect from 2 wide receivers. That, I hate to say this week was over for Big Trust as soon as that game was done Thursday night with New England, as far as I was concerned. To get 30 from a defense is unheard of. Quite frankly, he could have had 2 zeros in one of these spots and it really probably wouldn't even matter because the defense showed up so big. So that was probably the best play of this entire slate.
Yeah. He legitimately could have not played CeeDee Lamb. He could have took CeeDee Lamb and Foreman out and not played them at all and would have still beat Big Trust by a lot.
Yeah.
So let's look at the bench and see if anything would have changed Big Trust's fate. He left Mooney on the bench with 23 points here, but Mooney being playing for Chicago and how poorly they've been playing and how poorly they've been performing. And let's look at Mooney's stats here over the season. Okay, so he had 20 points before the bye, 12 points prior to that. He has been trending upwards. I wonder if this was a home cooking thing, like Darnell Mooney is playing my personal team, so I'm not going to play him this week. I wonder if that had any factor into it, because you look at it here. No, I probably wouldn't have played him over T. Higgins. I don't know. How about you? Would you have played Mooney over T. Higgins given what they've been putting out performance-wise over the last couple of weeks?
I'm going to be honest. I might have played him just because of Mooney, that is, just because Justin Fields likes to hyper-target him. And Joe Burrow really hasn't been able to get those 2 touchdowns per game that he's been averaging. But overall, I would trust Joe Burrow's quarterbacking skills over Justin Fields right now. So I don't think it was a bad pick. I think that was the right one.
Okay. I understand. What I do find interesting, though, is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm not sure when he was exactly activated, if he was activated in enough time. But the fact that he is on the bench versus Foreman, I find interesting. I don't understand that. I
don't think he's on the bench. I think he's in his IR, no? I don't think he moved him out the IR slot.
Well, but either way, even that, like, why is he there? Why would you still have Foreman there once you have Edwards-Helaire back? It seems a bit odd.
Maybe he wasn't ready to drop him and he just wanted to see how he would play this week with the performance. Because I know a lot of people thought Foreman might have, like, a big week given the competition. So maybe it was just like, let's see how it goes and let's see how Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes. Maybe that's the thinking. I don't know. That's what I'm going to assume, but yeah.
So the assumption was that he just felt as though Big Trust was soft and he can play around and play these type of games against a soft opponent.
I mean, that's one way to look at it, and I'm willing to go with it to stir the pot. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. He had big trust in winning this no matter what. That's what he had.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. So moving forward, now we're going to get into Raw Dog Supreme versus Corey's championship team. Take it away.
Well, starting off, this was probably the most exciting game to watch that was outside of my own game during the week. The score was Raw Dog Supreme 130.98 to Corey's championship team 145.74, with Corey's championship team taking the win. The first thing I want to start off is at the quarterback play again. Once again, we walked away with Kirk Cousins having a very, very big game. He walked away with 30.24 points. He had 3 passing touchdowns, 341 passing yards, and was sacked twice. Versus Russell Wilson, who just, I don't know, man. I don't know if this dude needs to just sit out the rest of the year or what the case is, but he put up a very, very low total of 6.48. I know a lot of people were expecting him to come out and do a lot better than he did last week. And quite frankly, I don't think he did. He might have did about the same that he did. But he had 207 passing yards. He was sacked 4 times. And he had 2 rushing yards. 2 rushing yards from Russell Wilson is like crazy. Like the injury was to his hand, right? It wasn't to his feet. So I don't understand why he couldn't get more rushing yards than that, especially when he's in a team that's known for grounding and pounding. You'd think they'd have some play options or something for him to just, I don't know. I don't know. He just shit the bed, and that sucks because I'm a Seahawks fan. So to see that happen was just like heartbreaking, but it is what it is. Moving on, my second point I wanted to point it out is look at those kickers. Who the hell would have thought they would have walked in with both teams walking away with 0 points from both kickers? I've never seen that happen before. That's quite crazy. You guys couldn't get in the field goal range. Like everybody's kicking 50-yarders like nowadays. So that's kind of crazy to see you guys weren't able to walk away with at least one apiece. But it is what it is.
Yeah, the part that I find interesting about that second point is the fact that Bullock did score a point, but then that point was
did.
But then that point was taken away because he missed one.
I didn't catch that when I was looking over things. That's actually kind of fucking hilarious. I guess that one point wouldn't have made a difference anyway because you lost by 15, so you only would have lost by 14. So, better luck next time. My last point that I would like to point out is look at these crazy ass totals they walked away from. Jonathan Taylor really tried to win this for Raw Dog Supreme. That is this man's MVP. He went out there and put up 53.40 points. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, 185 rushing yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. That is freaking insane. I think the next closest person might have been, Austin Eckler that we saw, and he was still only in 40 points. That is freaking insane. But if you go on the opposite side of that, Kirk Cousins and that Justin Jefferson combo, isn't that crazy that Corey's Champions quarterback has combos with the number 1 wide receivers on both teams? If he wasn't using Kirk, he'd have Lamar Jackson and he would have Hollywood Brown. So I think that's a very, very interesting thing that he did. He stacked the quarterbacks with the number 1 offensive weapon, and it's paying off. He had Christian McCaffrey come back and give him 24.90. So this was just going to be a crazy game all around. But all in all, in the end, it looks like the quarterback is what really, really did it in for Raw Dog Supreme. It looks like if Russell Wilson would have just showed up and did the normal point total that he was projected to do, he could have walked away with the victory for it, but he didn't. So, sorry, man. He took a very, very rough L. Yeah. Let's go to the bench and see if we got anything that could have helped him win this. Ooh, well, it looks like right off the back, Carson Wentz would have gave him some extra points, but I think he would have been 3 points short. But had he had played the Indianapolis defense instead of that New Orleans defense, it looks like he would have walked away with the victory quite clear. They would have gave him an extra 22 points. That would have put him over the top. I think he would have won it by at least 6 points. So it looks like you might want to stick with the luckiness that Justin Taylor's been bringing you with the help of Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts team. So far, they've been giving you great things, man. You might want to really, really, really think about just running them the rest of the way.
Yeah. It would have definitely made the score closer, not doing the math right off the top of my head. The only thing that I want to point out is that, again, the reason why I made this trade shows up. And he starts Antonio Gibson this week. And in the roulette wheel, Antonio Gibson is the wrong choice. Myles Gaskins is the one that shows up this week with 18 points randomly against the New York Jets, who have been known to be a pretty good defense. So, excuse me. Corey's championship team walks away with the victory, and this is just one of those games that I wouldn't be able to take. My running back does some historic shit, and I have a wide receiver that scores almost 30, and I still lose. 5 touchdowns, 53 points in fantasy, and you took the L anyway. Come on, man. That would have hurt. That would have hurt me. So, but moving on, we're going to go into your player got hurt versus the Indianimals.
Well, before we even get into this, the player didn't get hurt this game. the governor got hurt in this game. My feelings were super, super hurt at this loss. I'm pretty sure Darius is going to enjoy hearing that and laugh and giggle and all sorts of things. But losing by that 4 while this man is throwing up 4, it hurts so, so bad, Mark. You have no idea how much that hurts.
Yeah, your player got hurt. Takes the L this week, 118 to 0.22 to 122.12. Darius improves his record to 7-4, and he is now in 3rd place, while your player got hurt, drops to 4-7, and his team is now in 10th. Starting out, this is not the tale of the quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks scored relatively the same here this week. Joe Burrow only gives 9.52 to your player got hurt. And on the flip side, Ryan Tannehill is no better. He only gives 10.22 points this week, despite the fact that he threw 323 yards. He has 4 interceptions on the day. That just can't happen. That is a negative point total of 8. And he only had 1 passing touchdown. So that hurt him very much this week. But what did show up for Darius is Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Nick Chubb. These 3 pretty much is where the points came from this week with 20, 18, and 22 respectively. Looking at it here, you got what you expect from Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs, or at least what you traded them for. And then Nick Chubb as well. And I think that's what I really want to pick up here is that all 3 of these players were not on his team originally. Or was Keenan Allen on his team originally?
I believe he drafted Keenan Allen and Ryan Tannehill. Diggs
Okay,
and Chubb he acquired in trades.
Yeah, so Keenan Allen was on his team originally, but Stephon Diggs and Nick Chubb are 2 players that he got in the trade, and they both showed up this week. So the trade is working out for the Indy Animals and giving up DeAndre Hopkins. He came away with a king's ransom, and he's doing well. On the flip side of a player that traded for someone, Joe Mixon does perform well for your player got hurt, but A.J. Brown does not. A.J. Brown only comes away with 9.80 points. It's not horrible, but it's not what you are looking for in this type of game, especially when it was so close and you only lose by 4 points. Joe Mixon does his best to carry this team across the finish line, but it was not enough. And last point here, I want to point out that Robbie Gold showed up with 14 points here from a kicker. Can't ask for more. It turned out at the end of the day, it wasn't not the big difference here was at the skill position of wide receiver in flex. Indy Animals was just able to get more. Now, this is the part that I know for a fact Rickey is not looking forward to. Let's look at the bench and see if anything could have changed these teams' fate. So, looking at the bench, we see Cam Newton got his first start of the season, and Cam Newton is sitting on the bench, lonely, sad, and looking like that picture where he's just sliding down the bench like, bruh. He has 29 points here, but it's on the bench. It's useless. Nobody can use it. Can't do nothing with it. And it has to hurt your heart seeing that you lost by 4, and this would have put you over the top by 20. Rough.
You know what makes that worse? If I didn't make that damn trade, I would have had Mark Ingram, and he would have been in the flex, and I would have been 15. So that would have put me over. If I didn't fuck up and had Hunter Henry, in the right tight end position on Thursday. I could have had Miles Sanders in there. That would have gave me enough to put me over. And this doesn't even tell the final tell. Mark, do you know what defense I meant to start, but I was too busy in DraftKings and I thought I had them in? I had the San Francisco 49ers, and they had 10 points. That would have gave me also what I needed to win this game. This was just poor management. Poor management on my part. Oh, my God. I had every opportunity to win, and I fucked them up. I got my Urban Meyers on this game. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, this was not a great showing by the team owner here, because he left the points on his bench, and I know that's going to haunt you for a few weeks, unfortunately. But that's just the way fantasy football crumbles sometimes. Moving on, though, we're getting into the last game of the week. Battle amongst friends. Take it away, sir.
All right. In this final game of the slate, we have that explicit word, fantasy football gods, versus boom or bust. Total being 120.44 for fuck fantasy football gods, and Boomer Bust came in with 122.26. Now, this game was actually hard for me to find things to really point out. If you go down and look at everything, it was pretty even across the field. Jimmy Garoppolo actually showed up and did pretty good, minus the fact that he missed a wide open touchdown to, what's his name, James Wilson or Jeff Wilson?
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson, that would have gave this man an extra 6 points, possibly 7. I don't know the yardage on it, so we'll just round it up and say that would have gave him an extra 7 points, which would have gave him the win. If you go down, Devonta Adams actually showed up for him this week and gave him 30.50. I think the week before, was it, that he didn't give you that good of a number? I can't remember. It was
the week. Yeah, 14 and 10, and then 0 the week before that because he didn't play.
So the past few weeks, he hasn't showed up. This week, he definitely showed up for you and gave you everything that you draft Devonta Adams for. 30 points is what more can you ask for? Going down further, even Jamal Chase, he actually showed up and did a little bit better than the week before. I believe he got 1 touchdown and 32 yards. That gave him a good 13 points. But if you look on the other side of that, this is the one that had to hurt Mark's feelings. Toward the end of Sunday Night Football, the Steelers did not guard this man for whatever reason and let him break for, I think it was like an 85-yard touchdown. And that's the points that put him over. Mark lost this by, 2 points it's looking like? That shit would have made me cry. My 4 points almost made me cry, but a wild play at the end to just give up, especially on a critical down, oh, man, that shit burns your soul. Ooh. Sorry, Mark. I know the pain. I I got 2 more points lost.
Yo, like, oh, God. We'll get into it after you finish making your points.
My last and final point is nobody expects the Buffalo Bills to go in and come out with -4 points, especially with that defense. You would expect at least to come out in more of at least +3, I would assume. You get 3 sacks out of it, but walking out with that -4, that's gotta hurt. That would have put him over the top. That's all I really got. There wasn't too many things going on. That critical last touchdown by Mike Williams at the end of Sunday Night Football and the Buffalo Bills shitting the bed and giving you -4 on defense. Those are the reason Mark unfortunately lost his 6th game in a row. Yikes.
Yes. So real quick, man, I just gotta say, like, as the guy, this is why the change in the team name exists. Because who else do I blame when a wide open pass is missed by a quarterback and a running back? I mean, wide open where nobody's around. And then on the flip side, why is Mike Williams not covered? Why is there no one on him on this play? Like, inexplicably, he is completely uncovered on this play. It just runs wide open into the end zone for huge yardage. And then lastly, like you said, Buffalo's defense. What the fuck? Like, how do you get -4, Buffalo? Like, this is the same exact score that the Chargers in Pittsburgh had, and Pittsburgh still came away with 4 points. Like, Pittsburgh gave up 41 points to the Chargers, and they still came away with 4 positive points. Buffalo couldn't come away with nothing. They came away with negative.
Yikes. Well, I don't hear anybody questioning if Buffalo is going to be the next, Kansas City Chiefs. They haven't been doing all that well. The offense is kind of slowed down a lot. The defense isn't getting the job done. I don't know. Maybe people might need to start checking to see if they're the real deal. It's not looking like it.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
What I will say before we move on from this particular part is shout out to Sean. I have to say he was very patient with Mike Williams, because Mike Williams has been asked for weeks and weeks and weeks. Him being patient, or maybe not even have any more options.
4, 3, 7, and 7, and against me, boom, in one play.
Yeah, man, that's got to suck. That has got to suck. I mean, it is what it is, though. The fantasy football gods are smiling down on Sean and frowning at you. You might want to change your name before the next week.
Nah, man. If you're gonna fuck me anyway, I'm not gonna smile about it. So
I can't be mad at that. Pause.
So here we go. Let's look at the bench, see if anything would have changed their fate. No. Look, and again, your player, fuck the fantasy guides, is basically pulling this shit together with duct tape and glue and fucking trying to figure shit out, because Kyler Murray was out, Cordero Patterson was out, Antonio Brown has been out for a long time. And on the other side, like, he would have got even more points because Jamison Crowder is sitting on his bench with 16. So, hey, fuck the fantasy guys is trying to put it together with duct tape and glue, and he can't figure it out. And even though he puts his best foot forward, it doesn't work out in his favor. So it is what it is. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our coverage of our 3 and out Week 11 post-game matchups. All right. So now time to get into our picks of the week. We did not cover this last week, but let's go ahead and look at.
I thought we did cover that last week.
No, we did not. But let's go ahead and look at our league pick'ems for this week. All right. So Rickey was live on air. He did not make the picks himself, but I do believe that we did not disagree on any picks for the week. And in not disagreeing on any picks for the week, we both were a perfect 6-0 this week. Got every pick right this week on who we thought was going to take the win or the loss. So there you have it here. Usually Sharice participates, but she did not participate this week. So that is all the takeaway here, is that we picked it right. Even us losing, we picked it right. So now
I think this function they need to put on the app for the phone, and we probably get this cracking a little bit more.
Yeah, this function would be nice to have on the phone and not just on the laptop. Because if it was on the phone, people would participate more. So there we go. But I do like this function a lot, getting away from our current thing here. Like, you can see the breakdown here. The only thing I don't like is that you can't see the breakdown for other teams. Like, I can see my picks, but I can't see the picks of someone else, which kind of sucks. I can only see their results. I can't see who they picked. So
damn, Yahoo protecting the voters.
Seems like it. But now let's go ahead and get back into the pregame matchup for Week 12 and see what we got going on here. Who's going to play who, and who do we think is going to take the W? All right, we're going to start in reverse order here. I love Cam Newton is going up against Indy Animals this week. I love Cam Newton is set to score 141.33 to Indy Animals 131.04. They have I love Cam Newton favorited 57%. Looking at it here right away, I see Dak Prescott, and based on the last couple of weeks, I do not know if I could trust this projected score of 23 points. It does, like, teams that he's playing, it's not like he's been playing world beater defenses and not performing. He's been playing middle of the road defenses and taking L's. Like, so I don't know what to do with that. Like, Kansas City, they're improved, but come on, 0.014. Like, should I trust that? Just the week before, he did score 30 though. So I don't know. How do you feel about that Dak Prescott projection there?
I'm going to be honest. I think he's going to bounce back and have a big game. Just from, as you said, the history. The last time he had a bad game, he came back with a big game, big strong game. So I think we're going to probably see some of that this week. Maybe it'll be a shootout. I do expect Las Vegas' defense to get on them because they've been a very good defense. A lot of people aren't really talking about it, but they've been pretty solid, especially in the pass rush area. So we'll see. I expect them at least to get his projection, though. I think he could come out with at least a 20.
Do you think CeeDee Lamb is going to clear protocol? And do you think he'll have Amari Cooper back this week?
Amari Cooper, he will definitely not have back because he won't meet the 10 days because I believe there's a Thursday night game. And I would assume the same would go for CeeDee Lamb, man. I don't think he's going to pass that protocol by then. But, you know, they have that Wilson kid. They have the Turner kid who got the 2 touchdowns before. And when all else fails, they still got Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. So.
Who was dealing with a knee injury, correct?
Oh, no, I wasn't aware of that. Ooh, yeah, this might get tricky. Well, he still has his 2 tight ends. Schultz and the other dude, Blake or whatever his name is. So maybe they could get something working there. Who are they playing? Vegas? I mean, Vegas isn't like, you know, that great of a defense, but they're not that bad. So maybe they can work their magic and figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, that's just a tricky play in my opinion there. I don't know. And
well, shit, looking across the field, you have Ryan Tannehill versus New England, so
yeah, the same thing could be said across the field as well. Like, so it's rough. But I will say this: if I was the Indy Animals, I would be looking to try to go to a different quarterback if available than Ryan Tannehill. New England's defense has been coming alive, and Tennessee is falling apart at the seams. It seems like offensively, so. I would probably look to go elsewhere there. But I love Cam Newton does get Cooper Kupp back, which is a big deal. That projection is pretty much a foregone conclusion. I don't think there's been a week he's played. Oh, no. There's been 2 weeks that he's played this season where he did not meet his projections, which was week 4 and week 5. Every other week, he has blown his projections pretty much to smithereens. So,
you know what's interesting about that? Those are both against divisional teams.
Yeah. So, well, he doesn't play a divisional team this week. So,
fair enough.
Well, I love Cam Newton has Odell Beckham, who can't. All right, so here's a question that I just have football-wise in general. Do you, now that he's been able to get a little bit established in the offense and he's had a bye week to be established and put himself into the offense, if Odell Beckham comes back with the fantasy scores that he's been having all season, are you still giving him excuses for why he's performing this way?
Yes. One, they're playing against the Green Bay defense, which has been pretty solid the last couple of weeks. Two, he's only 2 weeks into actual training camp with this new playbook. So I would at least give him 3 games before I start making criticism about it, because I don't really know what they're going to do. Are they going to play him just like Robert Woods? Or are they going to try something different? Are they just going to have him out there as a dummy decoy until they get things going? If I'm being honest, I do understand Odell Beckham's talents there, but if I'm trying to play my playbook, I'm going to look at the third string wide receiver that was there during camp. What's his name? Jefferson?
Van Jefferson?
Van Jefferson. I would like to use him a little bit more and use Odell Beckham when I can. So I don't know. I wouldn't say anything until at least the game after this or the following week. So another 2 weeks after this is when I would start giving criticism, but I can't hold it against him just now showing up there. Yeah, all the 3 days to get ready for a Monday night game after he cleared doctor schedules and whatnot. He got the bye week, which should be enough time to get, conditioned, I want to say. But, you still got to work on your timing and everything else with Stafford, because hell, Stafford was shit in the bed with Cooper Kupp the last game that they played. So to be fair, I'd give him at least 4 weeks.
Fair enough. But on the flip side of those receivers, Keenan Allen goes up against Denver. Stephon Diggs goes up against New Orleans. Nick Chubb goes up against Baltimore. Baltimore is not the defense they once were. Henderson goes up against Green Bay. On the flip side, you have Dalvin Cook going up against San Fran and David Montgomery going up against Chicago. And then I'm still looking at Myers being starting for I Love Cam Newton. I think I have seen enough to where I can make my prediction and say who I think is going to win this game. And for me, my prediction goes to Indianapolis, despite them saying that he's an underdog in this game. These three here, I like it here. I would hope that he does something about his quarterback, because that's a potential to have an 8-point performance or something like that from your quarterback position. But outside of that, I like everything else that's going on about his team. How about yourself?
I'm going to lean towards I Love Cam Newton. I think he has the better matchups. David Montgomery against Detroit, that looks like a give me. Dalvin Cook against San Francisco, that's not too bad. I think that's in the middle of the pack type game. I like the Odell and the Cooper Kupp. Just the names alone makes it a little bit difficult for the defense to figure out. I think on the other side, I think the Diggs matchup against New Orleans is interesting. New Orleans hasn't had the best secondary, and how Buffalo likes to play with all the wide receivers. I think that could be interesting. I don't know who gets the ball. I don't know if they try to force it to Diggs or not. And then you got the Keenan Allen matchup against Denver. That one's a little bit tricky because it's a divisional rivalry game. So I don't know how that one's going to go. A lot of times those games get a little bit tricky. As you see, Cooper Kupp gets held when he plays against people in his division. I wonder if that's going to be the same with Keenan Allen. Will they know better to gang up on Keenan Allen and let Mike Williams stay open and play the one-on-one man coverage? I don't know how they'll decide to play that. So this could be interesting. I think, honestly, the biggest matchups to look out for is to see how Hawkinson's going to do, because he hasn't really been doing super, super well as of late. So I think he had one good game out of the past 5, maybe. And, actually, no. He's had better than that. That's my bad.
Well, you're about right. Week 8 was his last good game, and then week 6 was decent, but before that, 3, 8, 4, 10, 0. Well, 11.
Then I don't.
He's just right. And you expected more from TJ Hawkinson, and pretty much he's right in line with other tight ends. So
I'm gonna still be interested to see what he does, because I don't think Goff is playing. I think they have the backup playing again. I don't know if the Goff plays this weekend or not. I really don't know. Didn't watch into that game. But other than that, the Myers game is pretty interesting because Tennessee, I know they've been getting better with the defense, but they haven't been getting that much better. So it's interesting to see if it's going to be a Myers or Kendrick Bourne's game. I think that either of them have the potential to get a touchdown. So that can make things a little bit more interesting. But those are the two matchups I'm looking to see what's going to kind of, I think that'll be the deciding factors. Everything else I think is pretty even.
All right. So moving on into the next matchup of the week, We Not From 750 goes up against Corey's championship team. So looking at it here, We Not From 750. He is a major underdog by 79%. Corey's championship team is favored. We Not From 750 is only set to score 104 points to Corey's championship team's 147.33. Let's see why exactly they have it this way. Okay, so AJ Green is on a bye this week, but one player being on a bye and it being AJ Green can't possibly be the answer. It's largely because, well, his receivers are still found to be lacking. Maybe Zeke is. Let's look at the news for Zeke here because that injury report does not seem to be showing now. So, all right. All right, so yeah, here we go. Speaking Tuesday, Cowboys Ezekiel, he said that he can play through his knee injury. Elliott first appeared on the injury report with a knee injury prior to Week 10, but he hasn't held a designation going into a game yet and hasn't missed his start. Sorry, but anyway, let's see. Christian McCaffrey getting 26 points. DJ Moore. Now that Cam Newton is there, DJ Moore is actually a viable wide receiver again. Justin Jefferson. I don't see them doing the same thing 2 weeks in a row, but Justin Jefferson will still be great. Lamar Jackson comes back from injury against Cleveland. That's a divisional game. Like you said, those are always a little bit weird. So let's look at their benches, see if there's anything that I would have changed. I think I'm going to have to agree with them and say Corey's championship team is taking this. How do you feel?
Yeah, this one's easy to just give it to Corey. There's not a lot going on over on Rodney's side. Again, the wide receivers is a huge factor, especially when you're going against Justin Jefferson and DJ Moore. I don't like that matchup at all. This is just an easy give me to Corey. But with that said, this is fantasy football. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Rodney because Rodney seems to win these damn matches that he really has no business winning. And the ones you think, Rodney has a shot. Those are the ones he gets demolished in. So I have to be the contrarian here, and I'm going to have to go over Rodney because fantasy football's been weird like that for him.
Yeah. Yeah, understandable there.
As you know, you lost to him when you should have won, and I lost to him when you should have won. So, hey, I hope Corey loses to him when he's supposed to win.
Yeah, pretty much. He has the 3 wins he's taken. I'm pretty sure everybody that's lost to him is pretty pissed. Now, moving on to the next matchup here, Raw Dog Supreme versus Lucky Lombardicus. So we have the lucky team that is just dominating versus the team that drafted terribly but has been dominating the waiver wire in free agency and just been picking all the right guys. So Raw Dog Supreme is sitting here this matchup is pretty much even. He's only an underdog by 2% here. And he does decide to start Carson Wentz this week, so that's a good thing on his part. So for they do go up against Tampa Bay, whose defense has been middling and just not what you expect. But that they could turn it back on at any point. It would just suck if they turn it back on against you. So Lucky Lombardicus does have an empty slot here at wide receiver, and that's because I guess he doesn't know who he's going to start with CeeDee Lamb nursing a concussion. So it would have to be TJ Lockett or it would just be TJ Lockett. I don't see him starting Kadarius Toney over Lockett. So this could get even bigger here unless and I was going to say if DeAndre Hopkins is back, but Arizona's on the bye week, so he doesn't even have DeAndre Hopkins as a possible pick for this week. Looking at it here, I'm going to go with Lucky Lombardicus. How about yourself?
I'm going to pick Lucky Lombardicus as well, mostly because I need Cedric to start losing so I can make it into the playoffs. It has nothing to do with the actual team. But if I am Cedric, by the time he gets this, it might be a little too late. He needs to go ahead and pick up Ty Johnson from the Jets because that's going to be somebody he's going to need with Michael Carter being out. I don't know if I really trust Hines and Taylor on my team. I mean, they've done it before, but this is a little tricky because they've been using Jonathan Taylor a lot more in the passing. So I don't know. Or with that said, Mark, if you're looking for a running back, Ty Johnson might be a great pickup for you this week as well, too.
All right.
Yeah, I'm locking in for Lucky Lombardis. Hopefully he wins because we need some of these other people to start dropping down so we can make the playoffs. Hate.
Yeah. So, looking at it going forward, the next matchup we have is Boom or Bust against Big Trust. So this is a rivalry game. This is a game where these two players do not like each other when it comes to fantasy football at all. And this week, Boomer Bust loses Tyreek Hill to a bye week. Terrible fucking timing for that to happen. So Boomer Bust here needs to win this one, and he does not have Tyreek Hill this week. Mike Williams is going up against Denver. Josh Allen needs to rebound, and it's on a Thursday night. Thursday night games always end up being a little weird sometimes. It's hard to gauge what's going to happen on a Thursday night. And on the flip side, you have Tom Brady and company going up against the Colts, and the Colts defense has been performing as of late. So that's hard to say what's going to happen here with the Colts defense performing and with the Bucs offense kind of I guess stagnating, because they haven't been bad, but they haven't been like the dominant force that they were early in the season. So I guess stagnating is the best way to put that. So
that might be to his favor though. If Indiana's defense picks up, Tom Brady might have to, start slinging it. So that could be good for him.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll see. We do know that Saquon Barkley goose is cooked, so that start is nonsense. And is Aaron Jones going to be healthy? Who knows? Let's look at.
I thought he was out for 3 weeks. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
That's what I thought too. But he only showing a questionable designation. So, but on the flip side, let's see. He would have to. He can't use Connor this week, so he would have to go with Kenyon Drake. Let's see, find somebody on the waiver wire. and I wouldn't trust them. Now, Boomer Bust does have Sutton here on his bench. Now, let's look at this here. All right, so Sutton hasn't performed since week 6. He's had 4 terrible performances and then a bye week. This could be the week he decides to recover. That's hard to say, but the fact that he's had 4 weeks in a row where he's underperformed doesn't bode well. But more than likely, that's going to be the person Boomer Bust is going to put in that spot there. He also has Jamison Crowder. Who would you put in this spot? Like, he has Jamison Crowder, Corey Davis, and Sutton available to him to put in that slot.
I'm gonna honestly say I would just go with Sutton. The reason being, Zach Wilson's coming back, I believe, for the Jets because the other 2 quarterbacks have COVID. I don't know what to expect with that because I don't know how bad his knee is still. I don't know if it's fully healed or what the case is. He wasn't very
good with them when he was healthy. So.
Which is also true. But on a positive, the play calling has gotten a lot better since they sent that dude up to the booth. So maybe that, helps them out a little bit. This is a tough one. I think I would just have to go off with Sutton because Claypool got off last week. I know normally you don't throw well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, but the Steelers were able to get it last week, and there were no big injuries to that secondary that I know of for the Chargers. So I guess you just have to trust Sutton. Oh, but then you got to trust Teddy. Yeah, bro, this is a tough one. I don't know. I'd flip a coin. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's close, but it actually is like a real close game because you have George Kittle, who's healthy now. So that offsets Mark Andrews. That offsets the Mark Andrews potential. So yeah.
You got Boyd versus Higgins, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's rough.
The kickers is something that they might want to look at. I think Sean has the advantage there.
No, Sean for sure has the advantage there. Mason Crosby is awful. So let's just look at it. Mason Crosby has had a bad season so far. See, look, 0.50 that week in what was it? Oh, he actually got 8 points despite missing some. I guess because of that 50-point, because of that field goal, that one field goal that he made. But
I don't like that one. I think he needs to find another kicker.
Yeah, that kicker is not good. But in real life defense of Mason Crosby, it may be the placeholder. They have been showing plays where the placeholder has not been holding laces out. So you know what I'm saying? The old Ace Ventura adage, laces out, Dan, has not been working out. So
hey, if Green Bay's not willing to get a better place kicker, then I'm not willing to play him in fantasy. That's the bottom line for that. Tobias, you might want to switch it out.
Yep, the placeholder seems to be the issue for Mason Crosby. So yeah, but when in doubt, you kind of can't bet against Tom and them. So who you picking? Maybe you can convince me otherwise.
Well, this has nothing to do with football, but more of the shit talking. I'm going to go with boom or bust on this one. I hope he takes the the W, I'm sorry. Because I want to see him come back to the chat and be like, whoa, that would be the greatest intro to come back to with a win on top of Tobias. To be like, I've been gone, but I'm here for this victory. So I'm kind of hoping that happens. And honestly, like you said, the matches are very, very close, so it can go either way. But I'm going to go with boom or bust. Right now, it seems like he's booming, especially with last week's win. So maybe it happens again.
Yeah. So, yeah. Here's the thing. I want boom or bust to win. Mostly because, Tobias, fuck you. And secondly, because well, Boomer Bust, despite us going up against each other and me losing, that's still my guy. And I just got to put this out here for you, Tobias. You've been talking a lot of shit about my guy lately and talking about that he disappeared because he losing. Like, yo, here's the thing. My man got heart. I don't know if you remember this, but I'm sure you do because you still talk shit about it to this day. But he had a 10-game losing streak, a straight up 10-game losing streak, and talked shit the entire way through. Do you think that my man would not be talking shit now? Like, he got some stuff going on. Relax. He'll get to you when he get to you. Don't be impatient. You know what I'm saying? You'll get your turn, bro. But anyway, we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna pick Big Trust for this.
No, you can't do that. We gotta have him lose because that helps us get in the playoffs.
I want him to lose. But it is what it is. I hope that me picking him is an albatross. I hope that it causes him to lose. But we'll see. Because what I'm looking at just says that he is the favorite in this game. But moving on now, we got your player got hurt versus Reese's Buttercup team in their official rematch. This goes back to week 1, was it?
Yep. Yes.
So your player got hurt, goes up against Reese's Buttercup team. He is heavily favored to beat Reese's Buttercup team this week. 125.84 to Reese's 74.29. This game is very interesting because your player got hurt needs to defeat Reese's. He needs Reese's Buttercup team to lose out to make the playoffs, or at least to lose 2. You need her to lose 2 out of 3, and your point total to be higher than hers. Yeah. Actually, no. You need her to lose out because of that fucking tie. That fucking tie is probably going to hurt. So I don't know how that exactly is going to work. But either way, your fate is in your own hands this week. You actually have the benefit of controlling your fate this week. And Patrick Mahomes on bye, Zach Ertz on bye. Her biggest weapons as of late, she does not have access to. She still has Adam Thielen and Taylor McLaurin. But outside of that, she's hurting. She does not currently have a quarterback on roster. So therefore, Rickey could even play spoiler and take the best quarterback available on the waiver wire and prevent her from grabbing him. So your player got hurt. He has all the cards in his hands right now to be able to control his own fate. And with these bye weeks alone, I am picking your player got hurt to win.
Now, as disgusting as this is going to sound, she is the second most luckiest person in this league. I've watched her win when she's not supposed to win. And I'm actually terrified that the fact that she gave me Joe Burrow, and I'm going to probably end up playing Joe Burrow, that's going to end up making me get 0. Watch Joe Burrow's leg explode or some shit. Like, I'm really, really terrified of this one. This one, I should win, but just like the game against Rodney, I ended up losing. I'm going to pick myself to win because I hope I win. I don't want to lose, but I won't be shocked if somehow she pulls this out. Like, everything that should go right usually goes wrong for me, but I'm picking myself to win this one because I need it.
I think you have this one well in hand. Like we said, so far this season, where Patrick Mahomes goes, as does go her team, and the fact that he's just not here at all says a lot. So we will see what happens there. Now we're going to get into the last matchup of the week. Fuck the fantasy football gods versus FTW. which is fuck the world. So, it's a lot of fucking going on in this matchup. And Fuck the Fantasy Football Gods is set to win this matchup 125.18 to 109.16. That's weird. Oh, that's because Travis Kelce is on bye and his defense is on bye, and he has not changed it yet. That makes a lot of sense now. All right, so let's look at it here. There's a possibility that FFG or Triple FG rather is going to get Cordero Patterson back this week. We still do not know the status of Antonio Brown. We do know that the Tampa Bay football team said they have not found anything to be astray with Antonio Brown's vaccine card. So it says here that Bruce Arians says Antonio Brown is making progress in recovery from ankle injury. I don't know what that means exactly, so I'm just going to assume that he's still not available at this time. Alvin Kamara, who goes up against Buffalo defense, who greatly needs to show the fuck up. He is still questionable this week. Is he going to play or not? Let's see. Let's see what the news is here. He remains sidelined from Tuesday's practice, so his knee is still very much bothering him. So Mark Ingram is still in play, who is also now questionable as well. Who you got in this one?
I'm taking you on this one. I'm a little concerned about the players he doesn't have going for him this week, and that's questionable. With me not knowing if Alvin Kamara would play this week or not, and the fact that I don't think the Saints can really get back into the playoff picture. I'm not sure if they're going to shut him down. I didn't know that Mark Ingram was questionable, so that makes me a little uneasy. So I'm going to have to go with you for now, just from uncertainties. And also the same thing, Michael Pittman hasn't been doing much the last few weeks, and Brandon Cooks, I don't really know what to think. He's going against a tough Jets defense, who have been very stingy to wide receivers. And at the end of the day, it's still Houston, no matter how you want to look at it. So I think you just have more going in your favor with the wide receiver situation and his questionable running back situation. So I'm going to have to give this one to you.
Yeah. Yeah, everything on paper says I shall win, but...
oh, wait, you're still running Jimmy G? Ooh. You got a different quarterback?
My other quarterback is Kyler Murray, who's on bye and hurt. It will change, but that all depends on how the waiver wire shakes out and shit.
Well, I don't know how that's gonna go, but I'm not gonna lie. Going off of that alone, I might. Jimmy G is just that bad to me. I hate to do this. I hope you win this shit because I want this motherfucker to lose for playoff purposes, but I might have to lean toward his quarterback play. He still has Hurts, and at the end of the day, he still has that other dude too, Stafford. So I think that might outplay that uncertainty for quarterback play with Jimmy G. Yeah, that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah,
that scares the shit out of me.
Hurts is a big deal, and I think it'll just be poetic for me to lose against my own fucking quarterback for my team. So yeah, I can see a world where that happens to me. So yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. All right, let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Because here's the quarterbacks that are available in the league right now. So there's Heineke goes up against Seattle, but it's Heineke. You can't trust that necessarily. Teddy Bridgewater, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones. But here's where it gets interesting. You have Matt Ryan going up against Jacksonville and Ben Roethlisberger going up against Cincinnati. So I feel like the only two real viable options is Matt Ryan or Ben Roethlisberger over just still rolling with Jimmy G.
Tua's not available?
Huh?
Tua is not available?
He's going up against Carolina though. And Carolina's defense has been good.
I don't know. Tua's been really, really solid though. All the so-called good defenses he was facing up, he's done pretty solid against. Didn't he carve up Indiana with only half of a game?
No, he didn't play
I think he started the second half.
He didn't
Who
play.
did he play with where he came in the second half? There was one game he came in against.
Or was it Buffalo?
It might have been Buffalo. I mean, you got Mac Jones, who I like. I like the Tyler Heineke. Not to be funny, I actually was looking at him for DraftKings. Him and Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, my only problem with this is if Jimmy G does bad, are they going to put Trey Lance in? That's what scares me with Jimmy G. It's the uncertainty of when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not a bad pick, but you're right. All the quarterbacks just look a little concerning. I do like Tua a lot, though. Tua came back and he's been doing his thing, and I'm not a fan of him personally, but he's been doing pretty solid. He came back, he did 11, he had 21, 14. Actually, that's not as solid as I remember. Yeah, man, you might have the best choice with Jimmy G. Well, when all said and done, though, he has been getting it to Debo, and Debo's been making it up. So, yeah.
So I think the only other good choice, or only possible good choice, would be Big Ben. And Big Ben is just up and down. So
yeah, that's too sporadic for me. Yeah, you might have the best choice right now. I have to take that back, all things considered.
So yeah. But like I said, I'm just looking at what's going on his. You know what? You convinced me. Swift against Chicago is a big deal. And I bet this would be the game that Pittman shows back up. So yeah, I understand. I know what the fantasy guys like to do. I'm picking FTW.
Well, if you lose to him for those reasons, just change your name to No Vaseline, because that's going to be crazy if he lets you lose because of Philly.
Yeah. Nah. Well, I know how the fantasy guys like to do me, so it's cool. Well, that does end our pregame analysis for week 12. Our picks are in, they are locked and loaded, and we will see who wins what. But now it's time to finally get into the last portion of the day where we talk about the standings and power rankings. All right. So now looking at the league standings, we see here, we've alluded to it already, but only one team has locked up the playoffs, and that is Lucky Lombardicus, who has locked up the playoffs this week. He now has a win-loss record of 9-2. He could still lose and not be placed in the number one position, so he still hasn't locked up the bye week. There are 3 teams at 7-4, one team at 6-5, and another team at 5-1. That tie is going to be a weird thing to see how that plays out going towards the end. But with both of these teams here having a loss of 5-5, that makes it to where there are no teams that are officially out of the playoffs just yet. Every team is still viable to make the playoffs. Because if they lose out, that would give them a record of 6-8, are 5-8-1, whereas the fantasy football gods, if they were to win out, would be 6-8 as well, and they would definitely supplant Reese's Buttercup team, provided that these teams lose. The 5 and 6 teams lose at least 2 more games, and these teams lose at least 1 more. So that's the longest shot to make the playoffs. Is fuck the fantasy football gods. After that, you have We Not from 750, who is right there with I Love Cam Newton and Your Player Got Hurt in the loss column, but in the win column, he is beneath them because of that one tie. So in his position, the tie actually hurts him, except for when it comes to going up against fuck the fantasy football guys. Moving forward, then next best is Boom or Bust at Corey's championship team. Boom or Bust and Corey's championship team have the best odds of making the playoffs here, especially seeing how both Boom or Bust and Your Player Got Hurt have their fates in their hands this week. Boom or Bust goes up against Big Trust, so he can hand him his first loss this week. And Your Player Got Hurt can hand Reese's Buttercup team her first loss this week, helping to pave the way for fuck the fantasy football guys to make the playoffs. But more than likely, he's just not going to do that. How do you feel about these standings, Rickey?
It's a close one. I'm not sure what to expect. I'm hoping we can have a lot of people lose out and a lot of people win in, so things can change around and mix it up and make it a little bit interesting. I hate to sound like a hater, but I'm about to hate. I'm really hoping Raw Dog Supreme can lose his next 3 and I can win my next 3, because I believe I beat him in our first face-off, so that would actually put me above him in the tiebreaker, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if this goes by who beat who or by points, but I'm assuming it goes by who beat who in the face-off, so that would put me above him.
Well,
which would
I could tell you this, that it does that in the Yahoo, inside of Yahoo, it does not. There's no way to track who beat who, apparently. So it does not go off of that. It goes off of points only. But amongst my belief has always been, it's always been to go with the with who beat who. And I mean, we didn't talk about it before the season, but maybe that's something we should address with the league before we get there, about how we're going to break that tiebreaker up, because we can if it comes down to that, we can assign who makes the playoffs based on who beat who.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully everybody loses out that needs to lose out then, because I'm trying to get in the playoffs. But this makes it a little bit more interesting so people don't just give up, because I won't lie, I was one of those people like, fuck it, I don't think there's a way I could get in anyway, so let me make something miserable for somebody. Now I can legitimately possibly get in. Yeah,
you have a legitimate shot at even third, you have a legitimate shot at even second place.
Let's see what happens.
All right, so moving on, let's go ahead and get into these power rankings. All right, so here we are. Here's the power rankings, sir. This is your segment. Please take it away.
All right, so as you can see at the very top, not much has changed. We still got Lucky Lombardi at ranked number 1. He's 9-2. What more can you say? That kind of speaks for itself. Coming in at number 2, Big Trust didn't move. He did lose last week, but so did Raw Dog Supreme, which made them stay in the same rankings of 2 and 3. Moving up 1 this week, we got Darius with his win over me that pushed him up over Reese's, who I believe was above him the week before. She also took an L, which helped her drop down, and Darius moved up. little redundant on what I said, but you get the point. FTW has remained the same because he just hasn't had the best strength of schedule. He does have more wins than Reese's Buttercup, but Reese's Buttercup has been able to beat some people that she probably shouldn't have at the right time. So where FTW is a flip-flop from week to week. 1 week he'll take a W, 1 week he'll take an L. But against the people he's played, he takes those L's at the wrong times versus the wins that he takes. Corey's Champion had the biggest jump up, I believe, this week. He jumped up to, no, I'm sorry, Sean had the biggest jump up. Corey only jumped up by 1 with his win this week. Sean had a big jump up from 2. I believe he was toward the bottom last week. He and I actually switched places. Other than that, everybody else pretty much stayed the same except for you, Mr. Mark. Unfortunately, Rodney has come up 1 spot with you, actually dropping down to the bottom, since I believe you have 6 losses in a row, I think you said it was?
Yes.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I actually think it's the tiebreaker, which puts him above you. So we could already see where that little tie is starting to become a nuisance and could play into the playoff series as we go on. But that's this week's power rankings.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Thank you for the power rankings, sir. Like he was the one that kicked off my losses. By the way, We Not From 750 was the start of my losing streak, and it has not stopped since then. So I have not won another game since I lost. Since I was the first person to officially lose to We Not From 750. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you can get some W's this weekend. We can start changing some of these power ranking sets.
Yeah,
being last sucks. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hopefully We Not From 750 actually decides to check and set his lineup prior to Sunday afternoon. Like most human beings do. That'd be great.
I mean, hopefully I can't even say someone needs to give him help, because as you can see, I came running to the chat this weekend like, Corey, someone contact Corey. Lamar, stop playing. And thank God we did that, because that was a huge victory that kind of changed some things up, because we might not be having this playoff team looking different if he would have took that L because Lamar Jackson didn't play. So hopefully we can give Rodney that same, courtesy, but he'll actually be awake to see it. Yeah,
do you know that the only reason why Sean defeated him in week 4 was because he never changed Devontae Parker?
Wow, so Sean could actually be lower in the thanks, Rodney. Rodney. Sean won that game by 1 to 2 points, and it was because Devontae Parker was sitting there with a big fat 0. And he was called out on Saturday. You need to get your app to tell you what players are in and what players are out, Rodney. It only takes all of 5 seconds, and you'll know.
Like, he was called out on Saturday, and he never checked his lineup. Like, what the? Like, come on, bro. But that's the fantasy football guys. Like, this dude just ignores it on that day. But the very next week when he played me, Devontae Parker was out again. Guess what? He made sure Devontae Parker was out of that lineup that week, and I lose because of LeGarrette Blount going off for not LeGarrette Blount, fucking Leonard Fournette going off for fucking 30-something points.
I mean, it be like that sometimes, man. It be like that sometimes. What can you do? No,
it absolutely does be like that sometimes. I sound bitter because I am, but it is what it is at the same time. So
hey, I'm right there with you. I lost by 4 in them. By 4 of them.
But listen,
I won't be letting that go.
I just got to take my tiny victories as I can. Like the people that talk shit to me last year or the people that talk shit to me early in the year, they are now sitting with name changes that will follow them for the rest of this season. So I'm cool with that. And that's just how I got to live with it. You know what I mean? If that's the only thing I accomplished this year, that's going to have to be my walk away. Anyway, I guess that's the end of the episode, man. Thank you for joining me. I believe this was a great episode. We will reconvene next week. Hopefully it will be 3 of us. We will see how that works out. But if not, I think this works well as well. So as always, people, like, subscribe, comment, talk your shit. And for the people that's in the league that got a lot to say in the chat, get your ass in front of the camera or get your ass in front of the mic and talk shit to me in person, face to face. I'm right here. We could talk shit on this. Like, get at
SMD. Me. Don't forget that SMD. You heard
exactly.
SMD.
Exactly. SMD. All day. You loose bundle of sticks. Remember what it is. All day.
Oh, they're gonna go nuts over that shit. SMD. Did he really get on camera and say SMD? Oh, that's gonna be hilarious. All right.